So changing that on Facebook right now, but I'm talking to Facebook as if it can hear. Okay. What's up? What's up? Coach Bruce. Oh, wait, that's only two. That's weird. What's up? What's up? What's up? Three. Gotta count things. Coach Bruce is in the studio. Going to keep it like extremely short today because I was actually back on my podcast grind. I was editing my podcast today. Just finished the video and the audio. Everything's done. Just had to work on the show notes and the story to get back to posting my weekly podcast. Took some time off for the holidays. Didn't skip Christmas, showed up for that, but then was, kind of had my plate full and decided to just take a couple weeks off, take a step back. I kind of also spend some time thinking about what I wanted for what I wanted goal wise for the podcast. And I'll talk about that a little bit today is that my podcast had been focused on the broad idea of showing up as yourself in like all spaces. And I think that is it's still something that's really important to me. I still want to make the world a safer place to show up as yourself. But I think moving forward, after I wrap season one, probably at the beginning of February, I'm going to kind of pivot some to talk more about authenticity in the neurodiversity space and being ADHD and authenticity, and some about being autistic and authenticity, because I had some guests that kind of aligned with that, and I feel like that's kind of an untapped resource. I didn't really go into it as much as I would have had I been thinking that this was going to be a space that focused on neurodiversity. So that being the case, I want to make sure that I'm mindful of that moving forward and staying more focused on staying focused. That's funny, but staying more focused on ADHD and other neurodiverse conditions and how that affects being able to show up as yourself in your life, in your family, in your relationships, whatever. It's still plenty to talk about. Still going to tell be able to hear a lot of great stories. Still going to be able to connect with a lot of amazing people, but it's going to have more direction, and it's going to help me narrow down the conversations a little bit more. Hopefully trim some time off. Like my podcast can be super long. I want to try to keep them under 2 hours moving forward, just because I want it to be a good listening experience for people. I know it's hard to get into the the real emotional deep stuff, like the real vulnerability whenever you're on a clock, but I know that it has generally been within that first hour that we're into some pretty deep waters. And I think that I just need to be better about navigating and managing the time, because that's something that is one of my biggest weaknesses as an ADHD man is time blindness and managing time. So like, as much as I've gotten so good at being on time places, understanding how long I'm at the places or in the places or doing the things, I'm not so great at. So I want to try to set that as a goal moving forward, is to be a little bit more aware of time and how that works in my podcast. And then being more focused on authenticity and neurodiversity in the podcast. Like that's going to be I'm just going to kind of reshape the podcast a little bit to highlight that a little bit more. There's something else I wanted to talk about today. Oh yeah. So I also want to talk today about, this is something that I was dealing with a little bit today, is setting expectations. I think that it's important to set goals. That's one thing, but also being mindful about how you set expectations, both for yourself, for other people. Whenever you think about being neurodiverse and the emotional dysregulation that can come with that, if you are constantly setting irrational or unreasonable expectations, there's going to be a lot of energy spent on recovering from the fall off of other people not being able to meet your expectations, or you not being able to meet your own expectations. This is, for me, this is something I faced this week as I released my new course. I didn't have super high expectations, but I had expectations. It's sometimes when you're doing something brand new, it's better to just be surprised by what happens versus, having like, as long as this happens, whatever this may be as a goal, because sometimes that's not going to happen. And um, I didn't get into a deep dark hole. Like, I don't want to quit doing courses or, quit podcasting or anything because I didn't reach my expectation. But I definitely had to take a moment and step back and realize that my expectation wasn't matching my goal. My goal is to help people. My goal is to like add value to the neurodiverse space and, be a resource for ADHD men. My goal is not to sell as many courses as possible. My goal is to be a resource. And so whenever I think about that, it it involves like looking at it in a multiple of ways. You have your goal, and I talked to my number one client about this yesterday. Is the when you talk about setting goals intentionally, that's one thing, but also your goals need to be broadly specific. It needs to be about the thing you want to get done, not about exactly how you want to do it. Because in the neurodiverse brain, it can sometimes get so focused on the one way to do whatever the thing is that you forget that there's another way to do it. So whenever we talked about getting out and riding your bike daily, like that's something that he really enjoys and kind of had set as a goal for himself last year. Well, his bike broke and things kept happening to push it off further and further for him to get back out on the road. So he just wasn't getting his outside time. That is something that he hadn't really figured out yet, is that it's the important part was not the exercise on the bike or biking it was about getting outside. And because the goal wasn't it wasn't broad, it was about doing the task or doing the thing versus like meeting the goal. So we talked about it some more and was like, your goal is to get outside more, right? And he's like, yeah, I need to be outside. Like that's what fills me up. And I was like, so in the future, whenever your bike breaks, what can you do? How can you face this problem in the future? It's like, yeah, I could have taken walks. I could have, used that time to go outside and, do yoga, or, I could have also checked my physical fitness goal by going to the gym, because I put that time aside to do exercise and get outside. It doesn't have to always be, all or nothing. Just because I couldn't go exercise outside on my bike, and do 5 miles, doesn't mean that you can't either go exercise or you can't just go outside, or you can't, maybe you don't ride your mountain bike, you ride your cruiser. It doesn't always have to be the exact thing. Sometimes it's just moving in incremental steps towards the goal and not losing momentum. That is like, from everybody I've coached, everything points to this this consistent problem of letting one setback not just set you back, but reset you. Like, a setback should set you back. That's what happens when you get set back. But the setback on itself only can do so much. The reset happens whenever you look at the setback and you start beating yourself up and you start to feel defeated and you start to lose every bit of momentum and purchase that you'd gained. And instead of just like losing a couple of days of momentum, whatever, by being sad, you lose everything that you've worked for, because you now believe that you're no good at this thing. And so you have to rebuild your confidence about the thing. You have to kind of restart getting back into the goal, and in your mind you have to start back over, and that's not the case. You just didn't progress for a couple of days, maybe took a step or two back. Okay, let's take those that step or two forward, and in 2-3 days we're right back where we started. Or not where we started, we're right back where we got knocked off our goal. So that's something that's really kind of coming through to me, is like, one, don't let your negative self-dialogue beat you down to the bottom of the mountain whenever you've climbed up so high. Like, just take a moment and sit on a cliff near where you are, and if you get knocked back down a little bit, don't let your own self-sabotage push you all the way back down. Just like chill for a minute and just recover and then start back where you were. And the other thing is like have those goals broad enough but defined enough to where you know what you want to do and there's multiple variable ways that you can meet that goal. I think that's a really useful thing as you're setting your goals is have a specific thing that can be done in a broad number of ways. I want to get healthier. I want to work on my communication skills. Uh, I would like to work on my time management. That's something that's for me. It's like I would like to work on my time management. So for me, that means I want to uh, work on my podcast and shave the times down a little bit better, spend less time working on editing. Those are all things I can do that are going to help me move towards that goal. But there's not this super hard line in the sand that says if I'm not, only spending 2.3 hours on podcast editing, and if every episode's not exactly an hour and 15 minutes long, then I've failed. Then I haven't. I'm not moving towards my goal. I don't think that's fair. I think that's really unreasonable. I think for everybody, but especially for ADHD people, there are going to be days when it's hard to do the thing, but you need to build room for yourself to be able to have some movement and to like say, yeah, just because I didn't do it today doesn't mean that my goal it's finished. Doesn't mean that I ruined it. It just means that today I didn't move towards that goal, and that's okay because tomorrow I'm going to do this to help move towards that goal. So that's how I'm going to wrap it up today. I think that goal setting is so important, and we get really scared of it as ADHD people because we're so used to hearing specific, definite goals that are really rigid. And I think that that's not what it should look like for us. It should be much more about what is the thing that we want to move towards and what are like many different ways that we can do it. Let's do that. Once again, my course is out. It's live. I'm really excited about it. I think that it's such a great value and comes with a bunch of bonus stuffs. The link is in my description. It's in my bio. It's everywhere. Go check out the 9 ways for the ADHD dad. Sorry, the 9 steps for the ADHD dad to radically improve communication and change the way you communicate today. It is, I think, so important to be able to speak with authority and intention so people know what is important to you and can start to respect you in the way that you deserve to be respected, treat you the way that you want to be treated, because right now everybody's just guessing what everybody else wants versus actually having any idea how to treat somebody because you're not telling them. So anyways, go check that out. Also, I've got my How to Life workbook, which helps you lay out step by step your life instruction manual so you can have the foundation to communicate those same things. Like you have to know what you want to tell people, like how you want to be treated. So those are my points of the day. Take that and run with it. Have a great weekend. I'll still be back on the weekend, but until I'm here on Saturday again, be yourself and love yourself. Good afternoon.